If you could step into my world in 2024, what would you say to us?
I'd say, we fought, we bled, and we left you some commandments.
The 10 Commandments after slavery?
Learn to read, know the law, tell the truth in your art, hold on to your land, protect your children, never go back to chains.
We talked about them in part 1 and part 2, but if you looked at us now, are we keeping them?
Some of you are, but some of you been breaking them so long you don't even see it.
So that's what this is. Part 3. Not just what are the commandments, but what happens when we break them. Today, if our ancestors could step into 2024 for just one day and look over our shoulder, what would they see? They would see us signing contracts we didn't read, scrolling past our own history, watching our neighborhoods change around us while the rent keeps going up. They would see our children tested, tracked, and sometimes pushed right out of the classroom and into a system that still feels like chains. And I imagine one of them, a woman who survived slavery, pulling us aside and saying, "Baby, we gave you the commandments. Why are you breaking them?" This is part 3 of our 10 Commandments After Slavery series. We're not just talking about what the commandments were. We're asking a harder question. What happens when we break them today? In part 1 and part 2, we said this clearly. These commandments were not about being perfect. They were about survival. After slavery, freedom was dangerous. You could lose your land with one paper you couldn't read. You could lose your children to an apprenticeship that felt like slavery with a new name. You could lose your story if the only voices in the history books were the people who owned you. So our people created rules. Learn to read and teach another. Know the law so it doesn't steal from you. Tell the truth in our art, music, and story, because without art, a people will perish. Buy land and keep it in the family. Protect your children and turn homes and churches into classrooms. Stand together and never return to chains in mind, body, or spirit. Today we like to say, slavery is over, that was then. But I want to gently, lovingly ask, are we still living like people who know these commandments? Or are we quietly breaking them and paying the price? Let's start with Commandment 1 and Commandment 7. Thou shalt learn to read, and thou shalt teach another. Thou shalt study the law, claim your rights, and organize for justice in the courts and at the ballot box. After slavery, if you couldn't read, the law could take your land, your wages, even your children, and call it legal. Today, tell me if this sounds familiar. We click I agree on contracts we never read. We sign loans we don't understand. We move into neighborhoods without knowing what's written in the zoning laws or what's coming for our rent in 5 years. We watch people lose homes over predatory loans, lose jobs over paperwork they didn't understand, lose their vote because nobody explained the new rules. If we are honest, are we still keeping this commandment? Are we really reading, really teaching, really knowing the law? Or are we hoping somebody else will explain it later? Which papers in your life have you signed without fully understanding them? Now let's talk about Commandment 2 and Commandment 8. Thou shalt tell the truth about slavery and freedom, and pass our story on to the children through our art, our music, and our storytelling. For without art, a people will perish. Thou shalt worship freely, using faith as a source of strength and courage, never as a chain. Our ancestors understood something. If they don't control your story, they don't have to chain your body. They can chain your mind. That's why they put truth in songs, in stories, in Sundays that looked like rest, but were really strategy meetings. Today, what do we see? Books being banned, Black history being shortened or pushed to the side, algorithms pushing everything except our real story, faith being used sometimes as comfort and sometimes as a weapon. We binge shows, scroll videos, and dance to music that sometimes lifts us and sometimes helps us forget who we are. If our ancestors sat down in front of our playlists, our streaming shows, our social media, would they say, "Yes, baby, you are telling the truth about us. You are keeping us alive in your art"? Or would they say, "Child, where are we? Who erased us from your own story?" Does the art you consume and the art you create help our people remember or help us forget? And if you're still watching right now, you're my kind of person. Take a second, pause the scroll, and hit subscribe to From Chains to Change so you don't miss the rest of this series and the towns, massacres, and hidden stories we cover here. Let's cluster commandments 3, 6, and 9. Save your money, buy land when you can, and hold that land for future generations. Build honest businesses, trade with one another, and keep the black dollar in the black community. Stand together. An injury to one is an injury to all. Division is the enemy of freedom. After slavery, land meant you were somebody. A farm, a little house, even a tiny plot was proof that you were more than property. Black towns rose up. Black businesses fed and clothed a whole people. A dollar could circle a black community many times before it left. What about now? We see neighborhoods flip overnight. We see black families pushed out by rising prices. We see our best ideas taken, our culture copied. But the money doesn't always come back home. We scroll past black businesses we could support and then send our money somewhere that never says our name. We fight each other online over small differences, while systems that don't love us stay very, very organized. Are we still treating land, black business, and unity like commandments? Or like suggestions? Name one black business, land project, or community effort you personally support. If the answer is none, is that the world you want your grandchildren to inherit? Finally, commandments 4, 5, and 10. Build and protect strong families, for the family is your first nation. Build schools, honor teachers, and turn every home and church into a classroom. Never return to chains in mind, body, or spirit. Freedom is non-negotiable. Our ancestors knew the truth. Even if the schoolhouse shut its doors, Mama and Big Mama could still teach. The kitchen table could be a classroom. The church basement could be a school. Today, our families are under pressure. Work, stress, screens, and systems that don't always see our children as children. We hand our kids over to algorithms and call it entertainment. We let some of the most important conversations get replaced by whatever pops up next on a screen. And while not every classroom is hostile, we know some children are still being pushed out, suspended, tracked, or ignored instead of nurtured. If the family is your first nation, who is ruling that nation right now? Is it love and intentional teaching? Or is it whatever the world throws at us? And if freedom is non-negotiable, how do we explain all the new chains? Chains of debt, chains of addiction, chains of self-hate, chains of hopelessness. What is one small way you can turn your home, your classroom, your phone, into a classroom for freedom instead of a playground for chains? Our ancestors gave us 10 commandments after slavery. They were never meant to be perfect little slogans. They were a survival manual. We are not living in 1865 anymore, but we are still living with systems that can take land, take rights, take story, and take children, if we are not watching. The good news is, we are not powerless. We are not alone. We are not starting from scratch. We have instructions. As you finish this video, take a quiet moment. Choose one commandment you know you're already living. Celebrate that. And then choose one you know you've been breaking or ignoring. Ask yourself, what is one small step I can take this week to move from survival to power? Because our story does not end at the auction block. It does not end at the plantation. It does not end at Jim Crow. It doesn't even end at this video. Our story is still being written in our laws, our art, our land, our families, our classrooms. The only question is, will we follow the commandments that kept us alive and upgrade them into a blueprint for true freedom? This is From Chains to Change. I'm Rondia Kaufer. If this spoke to you, share it with a teacher, a student, a parent. Subscribe to the channel for more hidden history and tell me in the comments, which commandment do you feel we are most in danger of breaking today? And what are you willing to do about it?